One of the worst things about being quarantined in my home is that the person I live with eats all the good food as soon as we get it. And it's me, okay? I hate myself. Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on this video. Long time no see for an episode of Side Flick, but that's because the movie industry, as you all well know, has gone to a standstill. Nonetheless, I digged and searched for as much movie news as I could find to bring to you guys to distract you from things going on in the now and to look forward to in the future. We're going to be covering one of my most recent favorite horror movies getting a third entry, Space Jam 2 and the reveal of the big villain, along with another character from your childhood getting a live action interpretation. So I need you guys to comment down below your thoughts on the movie topics we discussed today, and all that I ask if you're enjoying these videos is to leave a like down below. You don't know how much it helps with these videos. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the horror movie probably a lot of you guys have not heard about, entitled Creep. But the good thing is, since a lot of us are stuck at home and are just searching for something to watch, if you have not checked out Creep, the first two movies are on Netflix, at least Netflix USA, and I think it's one of the better horror movies made in most recent years. The basic premise is that a person responds to an online ad for someone offering $500 in exchange for them to be filmed for one day. The movie is filmed in a found footage style, and it is one of the better uses of found footage. And the second movie that they made, again, that's on Netflix for you, I think is even better than the first. But you people who've already seen the first two movies, you're probably dying for the third film to be made, and this is the little update that we have on it. Mark Duplass, who is the creator and also plays the villain in the Creep movies, went ahead and updated us what is taking so long for the third movie to be made. Here he is saying, "We've written it twice and neither of those stories are good enough, and the reason we almost didn't get a Creep 2. We got lucky making Creep, as cognate as it is considering how we made it, and I didn't want to disappoint people, and I didn't want to put out a stupid sequel." So I guess it's some good mixed with some bad. The good is that we are gonna get this third movie and that they're working hard to give us a story that we would like. Which again, just knowing how much effort gets put into these movies to make them better makes a lot of sense why I enjoy the second movie even better than the first film. So it's good to know that they are working on the third movie. They're just having a lot of trouble with coming up with the story. The second film ended on a real cliffhanger that it's like you can kind of see where it might go, but they obviously want to defy expectations and end this franchise on a happy note. So I throw it off to you guys. If you watch Creep, are you excited for the third movie? And if you have not watched either of the movies, like I said, go check them out. I don't think you'd be disappointed. Next off, we have another film in our childhood that is wanting to come to the big screen to bring us nostalgia and also to keep the character relevant for the new generation that'll grow up with him. Curious George, some of you might be familiar with the children's book, if not the animated movie or series, telling the story about, well, George being a curious little monkey who gets himself into a lot of trouble along with his owner. And one of the interesting parts about this is that this movie has been trying to get made since the year 2016, when it was first announced that they wanted to make a live-action Curious George movie. 4 years later, in development and trying to get this story down, it seems like they just could not come up with a good idea that kept delaying the project, to most recently where we have an update on who's going to be rewriting the script to hopefully bring it to the big screen. Geeks Worldwide is reporting that Jim Taylor, who most recently wrote Downsizing, is going to rewrite this live-action Curious George movie, and that right there just made me lose all hope for this project. One, I can't act like I was even the biggest Curious George fan to begin with, okay? I'm just familiar with the character, I've seen the books, I've probably seen a few episodes here and there of the cartoon show. But just like with the live-action Clifford movie that's coming very soon, it's a property I'm aware of, and it's something I would have liked to have seen on the big screen, just a monkey having fun. Unfortunately, the adding of Jim Taylor, no offense to the guy, but Downsizing was one of the biggest disappointments I ever had in the theater. You might have remembered the premise or the trailers for this movie about a world where you can be downsized, meaning you can turn tiny and you could live in a society of people who are small as a thumbtack. I thought that was a brilliant idea for a movie. It had Matt Damon. I was like, I'm gonna check this thing out because it could be something very memorable. And when you watch the movie, it is just a clustered mess, goes in a very weird direction, adds a lot of political commentary that is unnecessary. It was just poorly received by a lot of people all around, and him being attached to Curious George just does not get my excitement afloat. But then again, we've had it happen before where people write a bad movie and then they make a good one, and vice versa. So I'm gonna throw it off to you guys. Are you excited for the live action Curious George movie? How do you feel about this guy being attached? Or are you just really sick and tired of all these live action remakes? Getting on here to the big juicy story about a movie that is just one of my most anticipated for 2021, Space Jam 2. I pulled out this shirt and this pop for a reason. I absolutely love Space Jam, even more just love the Looney Tunes characters, and the child in me has been waiting for Space Jam 2 for a long time. Of course, bringing back a property from my childhood decades later with a new lead actor, LeBron James, is a little scary, but honestly, every time more details are revealed about this movie, it just hypes me up even more to get you guys caught up if you're not aware what's going on with the Space Jam movie. It is sounding wild. You might have seen a previous Side Flick episode I did where I updated you guys on leaked images for Space Jam 2 that were really confusing, but really got us fans hyped up. Not only are characters in the Looney Tunes world going to be playing basketball and entertaining us on the big screen, Warner Brothers is going to be pulling out as many IP characters as they own and pulling them into Space Jam 2. Some of the leaked images were the Wicked Witch of the West, the Mask, even Pennywise and the Joker will be making appearances in this movie. Just think of how big the library for Warner Brothers is, and all those characters could possibly be showing up in this movie, sitting in the crowd or actually playing basketball. I don't see how that could not turn your excitement level up. Other concerns about Space Jam 2 that some of us had is if that they were going to change the animation style for this sequel. Now it's been confirmed by one of the animators who was working on this that the Looney Tunes and all the other cartoon characters will be 2D animated. That's kind of refreshing to hear because it would have been kind of weird if they did a sort of 3D animated effect. 2D is where it belongs, and I'm happy they're keeping it that way. Well, we recently got an update about the big bad villain in Space Jam 2. A lot of us would be thinking that it would be the Monstars coming back for a rematch against the Looney Tunes. But then again, that really wouldn't make sense because if you watch Space Jam and see the end of that movie, the Monstars and the Looney Tunes are kind of friends by the end of it. It'd be very random for them to all of a sudden be the villains again and fighting off the Looney Tunes one more time. Instead, the villain of the film right now is said to be Don Cheadle. You might know him from playing War Machine in the Marvel movies. One of Don Cheadle's co-stars, who he does another TV show with, accidentally let this slip. Paul Scheer saying, actually Don Cheadle, who I do Black Monday with, he's the bad guy in Space Jam, and he said LeBron's really great. He was great in Trainwreck too. I don't think the guy was supposed to say that, especially since later on he went around saying, oh no, I misspoke guys, I didn't mean to say that, but how do you missay something that direct? Don Cheadle is the bad guy. It's probably just the Space Jam people at Warner Brothers calling up going, hey, you need to take those comments back, man. So putting that stuff aside, it's kind of confusing to know that this human character will be the villain of the movie. But you also have to remember, we don't know all that much information about the character that Don Cheadle is playing. For one, it could be a Danny DeVito situation. Don't forget, Danny DeVito was technically the villain of the first Space Jam movie. We just didn't see him as Danny DeVito. He did the voice for the manager of the Monstars, who set up this whole game against Michael Jordan. So it could be a situation like that where Don Cheadle plays an animated character that he lends his voice to. But with everything we've been hearing about Space Jam 2, I would not be surprised if Don Cheadle is playing some sort of Warner Brothers executive in the movie. For what motivation, it's unclear, but just bringing in all these different IP characters makes me think that we are going to get those sort of metal roles. Because if you look at the IMDb page for Space Jam 2, there are actors listed in the cast whose roles are identified as WB Executive Assistant. Don Cheadle could be playing the CEO of Warner Brothers who has some evil scheme for the Looney Tunes. How meta would it be if his character wants to reboot Space Jam, and this movie is sort of a movie within a movie where we're watching that happen? But putting that speculation aside, something LeBron James also updated us on about this movie, that is just a small little tidbit, but I think a lot of Space Jam fans will be happy with, is that he said in the meeting for Space Jam 2, he wouldn't do the movie if it didn't have the right soundtrack. We all know how hard the soundtrack for Space Jam goes. Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. I wanna fly like an eagle to the sea. I believe I can fly. I think about it every night and day. I'm sorry for the 20% of my audience who will unsubscribe after that. It was worth it. But that is just all the movie news we have going on right now, guys. I need to hear from you guys. What most excites you? Are you gonna be looking forward to Space Jam 2? What do you think of Don Cheadle as the bad guy? And just really quick, I want to thank you guys for being so supportive about me introducing video game content to the channel. If you didn't know, I made a community post on YouTube talking about that I'm gonna start doing video game content. Don't worry, it's gonna be nothing obscure or crazy. I'm not even that big of a gamer, but I am just gonna be making random content about video games that were based on movies. So be sure you guys to subscribe for that content later in the future. Don't forget to leave a like. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.